didn't really get to watch a lot of the Super Bowl for various reasons, but the parts that I did watch, it was a pretty boring game until towards the end, obviously. But
Yeah, both second half teams.
yeah, I mean, the first half was rather boring in my opinion.
I mean, what did it end? 10-3. I think both teams were just trying to figure out what they could and couldn't do against. I mean, they were arguably the two best defenses in the league. I think they were really just figure out what the other was going to give up so that, that offense take it. I mean, obviously, I think from a fan's perspective and somebody who played football for a little bit longer, I would have definitely liked to see CMC get a little bit more touches than what they did. But I feel as if that was kind of their game plan, was to let Brock Purdy go out and do what the Chiefs didn't think that he was going to do. That, that the Chiefs were game planning for CMC to have, 30 or 40 attempts for, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns like he had been all season. But I don't think they were expecting Brock Purdy to, go 13 for 15 and 200 or 121 yards and a touchdown on the first half. So
You mean the game manager?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Bringing up what you were saying about Christian McCaffrey. I mean, to be fair, he got a good amount of touches. He got 22 carries for 80 yards, and he was their leading receiver, 8 receptions, 80 yards. But I get what you're saying. I think mainly the reason why they didn't give it to McCaffrey as much, especially in the second half, was because of Steve Spagnuolo. As terrible as a head coach as he is a great coordinator, and he put the 49ers in such a bad position because he would load the box up with 8. He would load the box up with 8. That whole second half, they started out the second half with 1 high safety, 8 in the box. And you can't really run against that look. Right. So they were almost saying, yeah, go ahead, Brock Purdy, throw the ball. Like, let's see what you're made of.
Right.
And I think I saw something on Twitter that was saying that, like, I think Brock Purdy was 9 for 25 when targeting either Kittle, Debo, or Ayuk or something like that. It was something.
Definitely a pressured look, no doubt. I mean, and I'm not disagreeing with their game plan because it clearly worked. I mean, you could see just a couple throws and what seemed like a lot of times it was like, especially on, I was talking to Evan in the fourth quarter that like a lot of the looks that San Francisco's defense was throwing at them were blitzing 5 or 6 or 7 guys. And it seemed like nobody was getting home. Like it seemed like whether it was Patrick Mahomes or not, the Chiefs' offensive line was shifted correctly, was blocking correctly, and running backs were picking up their blocks regardless, whereas I feel like San Francisco's offensive line didn't quite do that as well as I thought they should have in blitzing. I mean, their offensive line is just as good. I mean, they got all the front 5 names that you'd want in the league. And it seemed like a lot of times, especially down the stretch of the game, for having such a young quarterback who is not as developed but can be that good, it seemed like they were really trying to put him on a pedestal position to be able to go and make plays, when in reality, he can make those, simple type of throws. He just needs another second to make it. But instead, you have what's his name? Not Galifianakis.
Karlaftis,
yeah. Right in his face, or Chris Jones already sticking his hand out. It's like just a second more, or and maybe they expect Brock Purdy to make those shift calls right on the line, and that could be the case. And obviously, there's still a little bit development to go there. But as good as CMC is, and as good as that offensive line is and Kittle is, I would have thought that there would have just been a little bit more time that he'd have been able to get it to Brandon Ayuk or Jennings and those other guys. So
it was definitely the 49ers game to lose. I think that,
no doubt,
especially in OT, I think it came out and said that the 49ers weren't exactly sure what the rules for overtime was and how that is a thing in the biggest game that you may ever play in your life is mind blowing to me. Especially
what's your
because your coach, this is the third Super Bowl he's been to, and now he's lost all three of them in brutal fashion. All three he's had 10 plus leads and he has not walked away with one ring. And for a talented roster like the 49ers to, I don't want to say crumble, but that was pretty much what that was. I mean, losing Dre Greenlaw obviously was tragic, and that
He had a hindered Kittle with his right shoulder.
Yeah, I mean,
but what's your take on it? Do you expect the head coach to do what he did anyway, even if the players knew what the rules were, or do you expect the players to step up and learn those rules? Taking that next step of being an all around player, knowing the rules, what's on the field, what's off the field, stuff like that, or do you think that was a coach's expectation?
I mean, it's an everybody problem. There should be zero reason why there's not every single player on that team, no matter what position or what coach you are, you don't know the rules to overtime. In the biggest game, the 49ers may never go back to the Super Bowl. It's incredibly hard to get there. The one game that they play in the Super Bowl, you don't know the rules for, is crazy to me.
Yeah, I want to get your guys' take on this, though. Speaking of the overtime, with the coin toss, in that situation, do you receive still knowing the rules? Do you still take the ball first, or do you give Kansas City the ball first?
I don't,
because I personally would give Kansas City the ball first.
I don't really think it matters because it's different in. I think it's different in taking the ball at halftime or deferring the kickoff because you may be a second half team. You can readjust. You're not going to make an adjustment in that overtime. It's not like you go to another halftime after the first overtime or after the other team scores to go back and say, this is what we did wrong. Let's fix it. You got to put the ball in the end zone. You got to stop them from putting the ball in the end zone. It's pretty black and white. You get an opportunity now since the rule change. I don't really think at the end of the day it should matter who gets the ball first, but you should be able to do your job.
Yes, Chris.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes. Yeah, what's up, man?
I thought whenever they were at the coin toss going into overtime that they discussed the rules.
They did.
And they said it. So why are they still saying?
I think
just the players themselves.
I think they didn't know until they said something about the rules, and they went, "Oh, wait a minute." I think everybody was confused until they said the rules. I think the only,
they just didn't know what to choose, so they just chose.
Mm-hmm. No, I think because that's what I was going to input. I think they exactly knew what they were going to choose. At least Shanahan did, because to Evan's point, I think it does not matter. Like you said, at the end of the day, you need to get a ball in the end zone.
Listen,
you need to stop.
As talented as that 49ers roster is, it don't matter if you give Mahomes the ball first or if you give Mahomes the ball twice. You should be able to win the football game. I mean, that's just black and white.
I think Shanahan's whole purpose on taking that receiving is because he realized who he had lost on defense, and he wanted to go out there and try and switch momentum by scoring a touchdown. That's got to be exactly what he was thinking, because losing Greenlaw is detrimental to your defense. I mean, it's just a huge supporting and veteran and mentorship role out there on the field that they did not have towards the end of the game. Whether that was, picking the players up because they looked tired towards the end or whatever it is, you could definitely tell that defense had suffered that loss. I think that's exactly what Shanahan was trying to do, was to get, his guys in his offense who was playing decently well throughout the game to go out there, make a statement, and then, hopefully that defense is going to be a little bit more rowdy when they go out there to stop an offense.
It could have also been because the 49ers defense was just on the field. They needed a break.
For sure.
But
yeah.
I mean, I personally, I get that with the defense was just out on the field because, I mean, technically the Chiefs defense was out there last because the 49ers kneeled it, but that was one play. Yeah, it was like a 3-second play. I still would give Mahomes the ball first, and my only reasoning behind it is that the fact that you play it differently when you're the first team to go in overtime versus when you're the second team to go in overtime. So, like, for example, like in that situation, let's say you give Mahomes the ball first, they score. 49ers, you go out there, you get in that same situation that they were just in, where they were in that 4th and 4, where they had to kick the field goal. You're forced to go for it. You're inside the 10. If you took the ball first, like they did, they have to kick the field goal. They need the points. Because if they go for it on 4th and 4, they don't get it. Now they're relying solely on their defense to not even let them in field goal range. But if you give Mahomes the ball first and they score, that changes everything, where okay, I can't take a field goal. I have to go for it. And if I don't get it, then they deserve it. But I don't know. For me, I think you give Mahomes the ball first and just and if he scores it, cool. You got to go down and score. If they only get a field goal, now that puts you in a good position to, okay, if we get into that 4th and 4, I can take this field goal and just give them the ball back again and just play that game. Because how the overtime works was, it was like just quarters again.
I see what you're saying. I just don't think that it's that. I mean, bro, we're talking. This is like the fucking Avengers of the NFL, bro. You have arguably one of the best tight ends in the league. You know, top 10 receivers. Your quarterback has been playing out of his mind all year. I mean,
the best 20 receivers. They had the most drops this year.
No, I'm talking about the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
You got Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel, CMC, Brock Purdy. I mean, I just don't think it should matter that much. But I think that there was an absolute breakdown on defense. Obviously, what was his name? Owen stepped in after Greenlaw went down, and he kind of got cooked the rest of the game. But I don't know. I feel like there's too many big names, and that roster was too talented to crumble like that.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the Chiefs for a second. I mean, these guys
never bet against Mahomes.
They've been to championships and Super Bowls, over the last couple years and proven time after time why they should be there. And I know that especially this season, we had talked about it last night that, we didn't expect them to go to the Super Bowl, let alone maybe make a deep playoff run after the season had started. But I mean, after going back to back, you got to think they're a dynasty, right? Or at least freshening up on one. I don't know that it'll be exactly what Belichick and Tom Brady was, but I want to know your thoughts. I mean, are we expected, the next 5 out of 8 Super Bowls is going to be red and white out there on a field, or green and white? Eagles.
Go Birds. Go Birds.
I mean, Mahomes is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. That's just plain and simple. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and argue this. Tom Brady, obviously the winningest, 7 rings. You pull up all his stats. They objectively obviously blow Mahomes out of the water at this current moment. Mahomes is 28 years old, bro. Mahomes could retire right now. He's a Hall of Famer. First ballot, no question about it. Tom Brady, the winningest, does not mean you're the best. Tom Brady's obviously one of the greatest clutch quarterbacks of all time, but he is not doing what Patrick Mahomes is doing out on the field. I'm sorry, it's just not. I don't want to say I'm a Tom Brady hater, but I mean, look at what Mahomes has done already. It's what? He's 4th, 5th, 6th year. He's got 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, he's just going to get better. I really don't see a place, especially this was the worst year for the Chiefs offense since, Mahomes has been playing. They led the league in drops. I mean, it was ugly. This was their worst year. They walked out with the Super Bowl. They had to beat the Ravens. Who was the first team they played?
What, Super Bowls?
Dolphins.
Yeah. They beat the Dolphins. That Dolphins team absolutely also stacked. Went through and beat
Bills.
Yeah. Went through and beat the Bills.
Then they played the Ravens.
Then they played the Ravens, and then the 40. I mean, those are 4 of the best 7 teams in the league. 6 maybe. And this was one of the off years for Patrick Mahomes, and he walked out with a Super Bowl. I just don't know how you argue it anymore. It's a dynasty. It's just that's what it is, and it's only going to get better because now they see, obviously KT kind of sucked all year long, and MVS kind of sucked. Can you imagine they get star wide receivers? We see like Rashee Rice step up, become that wide receiver 1. Can you imagine them with more weapons? I don't see how they just don't continue to go back to the bowl. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just like you said, with having such, the defense maybe not as good as you would have had to have expected. A quarterback can go and put it on you, put it right in the numbers, and we've seen time and time again this year that they were dropping the balls. I think it speaks testimonies to the type of player Patrick Mahomes is, and also just off the field. I mean, the amount of hours or the amount of extra training that the receivers did or with Patrick Mahomes throwing routes, catching balls, out there in that 30-degree weather in Kansas City, or they were chilling, in that nice 100-degree weather. I mean, they clearly were putting in a lot of work in the darkness that a lot of people weren't seeing, and it just did take a couple extra games than fans had really hoped for starting the year to be able to turn it around. But I mean, what's next? I mean, you got Shanahan having lost 3 Super Bowls he's been in. I can't imagine that the 49ers won't be back, at least having a playoff with the amount of stacked teams that they have. Greenlaw gets healthy, Kittle gets healthy, Debo gets healthy with a lot of his, knee injuries that he was battling all year. And then turn around on the other side of the field and you got the Chiefs going after a couple good wide receivers. I got to imagine Pacheco stays. I got to imagine Andy Reid's about to sign a big contract deal. Travis has at least got another one. I mean, I think the guy's hungry. He's a winner. We clearly saw that last night. I mean, what's next? Do you guys think that they're coming back, next year for another potential repeat? Or
By the time
I
Patrick
think
Mahomes is 40 years old, he has 8 or more.
all right.
I don't mind that because he's at the same pace as what Brady was at 28. Brady had 3 rings. Mahomes has 3 rings at 28, so I could see it. On if they're a dynasty or not, 100% they are. Like I see a dynasty as like you make it to the AFC or NFC championship, like the conference championship, like in a 5-year span, at least 3 times, at least half the time. Then you win at least, or in like a 10-year span, you make it at least half the time, and then you win at least 3 Super Bowls, whatever, however you want to do it. They made the AFC championship 5 years in a row. They have made the Super Bowl 4 out of the last 5 years. They've won the Super Bowl 3 times out of the last 5 years. Like every time the past 2 Super Bowls, everybody came into the season saying this team is down. This team isn't as good. This is the off years you guys brought up. This is an off year. And they somehow it's like one of those, like in hockey with Tampa Bay for a while. It was like Tampa Bay, yeah, there was injuries galore. They were circumventing the cap. They would make the playoffs, and then it was just like, yep, okay, hockey started. We're back now. I think with the Chiefs, like they could coast, win 9 games next year, sneak into a wild card spot, and they would still be considered a contender in the AFC because that's just it's when the lights are the brightest, they're there. Yeah, when the lights are the brightest, they shine. They know what to do. They know when. They know how to play playoff football, and that starts at the top with Andy Reid. It goes down to Mahomes, Kelsey, and instilling in the young guys how to play playoff football. And it's a culture thing. And that culture, as long as Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes are there, they're going to keep winning.
Yeah, it's immaculate. I mean, you brought up a great point is like, every year since Patrick Mahomes has been in, they haven't, at least players on paper, they have not had the best team. I mean, you look at San Francisco this year, you look at the Eagles last year,
The
you look
Carolina
at
Panthers
Dallas,
this year.
Carolina.
Oh yeah.
It just there's a lot of just looking at players on paper. The Chiefs do not have the best team. They don't. If you're taking just the absolute playing away. You're just talking about statistics of what people have done. They do not have the best people out there, and yet they go out and find a way to win day in and day out. And that right there is the reason why we will see them, in more championships and in more Super Bowls, several more Super Bowls over the next 10 years, without a doubt.
Yeah. I like we were bringing up with like just how you build this. Like I think in general that game showed you that like Kyle Shanahan got out coached. You can kind of tell
I
that
think
it was more.
we got to start having a conversation about Kyle Shanahan not being built for the bright moments.
So he got out coached, and it wasn't like it. To be fair, it was nothing. I didn't think it was anything on him. They had a great game plan coming in. I think what the problem was that in that first drive when McCaffrey fumbled, I think they got like almost, oh crap, we can't run the ball. We gotta start passing the ball around. And then you notice the next drives they start throwing the ball around. Then they start going back to the run, and that's when they drive down the field. They get that field goal. I think a lot of it was. It's always the opposing defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. They have like a chess match. It's always a feeling out process. Offensive coordinators, they script up their like first 15 plays, and they go down this first 15 plays in that exact order. No matter what happens, we are running these plays. That's why the beginning of games usually start off really slow, because it's always they're going straight off scripted plays. They go off the script. But then after that, that's when they start calling off the cuff. They start, okay, so we're running the ball very well. They're putting like 5 in the box. We're able to get good inside zone. We're able to, we can run this play. Short routes are working for us. We probably can't throw it deep. They got this guy in cloud coverage, that kind of thing. It was a chess match, and I think Steve Spagnuolo had a great game plan that was just better than Shanahan's on offense. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and you could do whatever you want with that defense. And like we had brought up, that defense is the Avengers. You have Nick Bosa, and you have Chase Young, and you have Eric Armstead, and you have
Travarius Ward,
Travarius Ward, Fred Warner.
Yeah.
I can keep naming people, but it all comes down to you are playing the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time, I think there were just adjustments for decisions that just weren't made. They made decisions, they just happened to not be the right ones. Either Steve Spagnuolo did, he clearly chose the better decisions to make, and that's why his defense and team ended up winning. But I mean, DeMeco Ryan, what was that on the last drive? Twice he was going cover 0 to try and prevent them on third down and long, second and long.
Yeah.
It clearly has not been working all game. And when the lights were the brightest, you go back to that same thing without Greenlaw, with, a couple of other banged up players. It's like Mahomes is able to dissect a defense. We've seen it. He did it all year, especially against the top 2 teams in the AFC. But Shanahan calling that timeout, we see hindsight 2020 now that it just so prolonged the fact that they were still going to go down there and tie it. But at the end of the day, I think it's more of a defense thing for San Francisco than it was offensively. I think their offense had produced enough to keep what they had and the quarterback that they had and some of the banged up offensive players that they had, the best that they could to put points on the board for their defense. And I know you're playing the best offense in the league, without a doubt, but you have to be able to capitalize on their mistakes One of them a prime example of being MVS when he runs 10 yards back and then turns around and now it's a 6-yard loss. That right there is not when we go cover zero, in my opinion. I'm no coach. I haven't coached before. I have played football, but we don't go cover zero right there against guy. I mean, you saw it. It just seemed like the Kansas City Chiefs players were faster, had more energy, were able to run around in circles compared to the San Francisco's defense. But I think a big reason that they lost, and especially on that last drive, is just from some of those defensive coaching adjustments that just weren't there.
Yeah.
So anyway, does that mean that D'Amico Ryans is on the out, or do we think they're just going head coach?
Well, one, it's Steve Wilkes.
Yeah,
D'Amico
I was going to say
Ryans,
D'Amico Ryans, the head coach for the Texans.
Oh, my bad. You're right.
You good. I knew you were talking about it. Steve Wilkes. Chris, you know Steve Wilkes. Mizzou defensive coordinator, former Mizzou defensive coordinator. Yeah, you know about Steve Wilkes.
Get him out! Wipe the whole coaching staff. Start from scratch.
I mean,
It's chalked.
it's always hard to say that you should get rid of someone on a coaching staff when you just went to the Super Bowl and you went to overtime and you lost by 3.
Right.
I don't think they're gonna fire Wilkes. I don't think they're gonna change anything. I think they're gonna kind of let this roll into next year. And I mean, if next year you see that the defense with all the talent that they have, that they just you see those little mistakes like you were saying where it's like, why are you calling cover 0 here when you should be doing, you should be running a cover 3 here because of the situation. Situational football, if you see that go down, that's when you know that you should probably look to get new staff in place there. But I mean, I think they'll just keep them for next year. I mean,
I think they're
if
going
it
to
ain't
trade
broke,
for
don't fix
Mahomes.
it. Dude, they should. I
How
heard
much is
he's a
Purdy
pretty
going
good
to
I don't
ask
think they got
for?
the money for
Dude,
it, bro.
Purdy is
Purdy's
going to
pretty good at
ask
football.
for a bag. I mean, Purdy's making $250 plus. You really don't think so?
$250 a year?
No. I meant the entire contract.
Oh.
I was like, dog, what?
Yeah,
Well,
Brock Purdy's
okay.
just getting paid $250, $250 a year for 7 years.
Okay. With
Clip it.
Brock Purdy, clip it. With Brock Purdy, where do you think he ranks in the NFL? If you were to set up hey, here's the top 5 quarterbacks, here's the top 10 quarterbacks. Where do you rank Brock Purdy?
I'm going top 15, maybe top 10.
I say top 10 somewhere.
I mean, bro, I find it so hard to believe that a team of that caliber, I feel like you could throw in any quarterback. You have George Kittle, CMC, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I mean, these are CMC is the best, if not one of the best running backs in the league. George Kittle's second, maybe third, maybe first, depending on who you're talking to. Deebo has shown how versatile he can be, and Brandon Ayuk has been a monster all year. I not to take away from what Brock Purdy is or what he can be, I just don't think that he is within the top 5. There's just no way. I can't see that.
No, I mean, if you're
Yeah.
just talking about per play.
Yes, he could be.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of development to go to, but he is clearly better than a majority of the current quarterbacks out there.
Especially Jalen Hurts.
Oh,
Jalen Hurts is a tush-push.
yeah, I mean,
Fiend.
Brock Purdy's not fumbling the ball. We see it, Jalen Hurts is. It is what it is.
Jalen hurts my finger.
I mean, I would agree that I think he's probably he's at least top 15 quarterback. And I mean, for being Mr. Irrelevant, I mean, everybody knows the story. Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. That's, I mean, nobody expected him to be that. Nobody did. And the fact that call him a game manager all you want, whatever. he at least he helped. He was a big part of a team that went to the Super Bowl. And I don't think he played terribly in the Super Bowl.
No.
For being, if we're saying that, oh yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback, then yeah, no, he didn't play great. If you're a top 5 quarterback, you take over that game a little more. But I mean, for a top 15 quarterback, and with the weapons that he had, and a lot of them were injured, like we talked about with Kittle with the shoulder, and all these injuries, I don't think he played bad. I thought he played very well. It was just you win against Mahomes.
Yeah, no, I mean, he played great. I mean, 23 for 38, 255 yards, 1 touchdown. I think he did what his team was expecting him to do. He went out there. He didn't turn the ball over. He made smart decisions. Yeah, that's exactly what they're looking for. But again, like Evan has said twice already, you don't bet against Patrick.
Yeah. Well, and then you have Ayuk with 3 catches on 6 targets, and I think it was Debo had 3 catches on 11 targets, and you got Kittle who had 2 catches for 2 yards, and like you just got nothing else from everybody. It was just all like there's a reason that the leading receiver, yeah, there's a reason that the leading receiver for the 49ers was McCaffrey.
It was a Steve Spagnuolo masterclass and a Kyle Shanahan masterclass. That's all you can say there.
I saw on Twitter somebody say, I laughed at this. Somebody said, yeah, Spagnuolo had a great game. He should coach. Why hasn't he gotten a lot of head coaching buzz? And the St. Louisan in me laughed hysterically at what he did in St. Louis. Yeah. Hey, buddy, go ahead, hire him. Somebody.
I mean, well, we haven't seen Bieniemy, but that's kind of the same conversation. Bieniemy's had a lot of success, but so I got to hear the 49ers are already favorites to win next year's Super Bowl, which is just again crazy to me. You're again just, the Chiefs just won 2 of the last 2 Super Bowls, and we're not putting them at number 1.
Gonna fall off the wagon.
Whatever it is, who's in the Super Bowl next year? I don't know if you guys have already seen the logo. Obviously, the whole conspiracy theory that colors matter. It's a green and a red, so people are thinking the Eagles, Kansas City again. But
that's exactly what's going to be my prediction. If the Eagles just clean it up, man, I think they got the players, but the execution was not there this year. No. I mean,
the Nick Sirianni masterclass as well.
No, I mean, I think we have who we should have. There is either some locker room ish, whatever it is. We need to pick it up, and we need to pick it up next year because we're going back to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Chiefs, Eagles, 2025.
Wow.
I'm sorry to break the Eagles fans' hearts, but I don't think it's going to be the Eagles.
You can't say Arizona.
Oh hell no, it's not Arizona. You know what? If I had to lock in a bet, I think it would be that they're getting the first overall pick next year. That would be a safer bet than the Super Bowl. No, I think. Now, mind you, this team needs some pieces. They need to go get some DB help. But the Detroit Lions, they're keeping a lot of that core. I mean, you got Sam Laporta still. You got Jamison Williams. You still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Still got Jared Goff. That O-line's coming back with Penei Sewell and Ragnow. That defense with Hutchinson and all those guys was great. The only problem that hurt them was their DBs. If they can go out...
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think if they go out and get just a one shutdown corner, and then you get another year of development from their who's the rookie safety that everybody was saying he was a dirty player. I can't think of his name. Joseph? Something Joseph?
Oh, Kirby Joseph?
Kirby Joseph, yes. I think if you get another year of development out of him, I think they can be I think they can win the NFC.
Contenders, for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's just America's all about what they can do. Oh yeah.
All right, so what's your AFC pick? You got the Lions out there.
Oh, it's Chiefs.
All right.
Chiefs. I just don't look, bro. I don't see how you bet against the Chiefs, bro.
I mean, there's only one team that I can think of in the AFC that could do it. And it's
The
the
Buffalo
team
Bills.
that's beat them before in the AFC
The
Championship.
Bengals.
The Bengals. That's the only team that
No.
we've ever seen
Nope.
beat the Chiefs, other than the Patriots or not Patriots, the Buccaneers with
Bucks.
Tom Brady.
The only team
It's
that
the
I
only team
see
we've seen beat
knocking
'em.
off the Kansas City Chiefs are the Miami Dolphins.
Wow.
That's the only
no.
team.
You're not even putting the Ravens up there? MVP?
I'm about to say, if
defending will be
anybody,
next
I'd put
year.
the Ravens if I
No, I
wasn't
mean-
picking the Bengals.
No.
All right, so you got the Chiefs at AFC then. Who's your NFC pick? for
Listen,
2025?
okay. I want the Lions. Lions obviously turned into, I don't want to say a Cinderella story, but I mean, the world wanted the Lions to make the Super Bowl. That team, obviously, super disgusting.
He's going to take out Birds.
I'm not, dude. This is gonna sound crazy. This might be a really hot take.
Arizona Cardinals.
This might be a really hot take, bro. If Baker Mayfield stays in Tampa Bay, listen. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl. I'm
Who are
not
you
saying.
talking about?
I'm saying I think they're going to be a dark horse to make stop. They're going to be a dark horse to make some noise in the playoffs, bro. Baker was playing out of his mind this year. I mean, arguably comeback player of the year. Obviously, that's a whole different conversation. I think the Bucs are going to be good. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl. All right.
Okay, well, I appreciate
All
that.
right,
So
all right.
now that we've gotten the teams that won't make it
I
to the
was-
Super Bowl out of the way, who's your
Yeah.
2025 pick in the NFC?
Listen, dude. I think there's a lot of good teams, bro. I mean, the Eagles are obviously up there. The 49ers are up there. I might throw in the Packers in that conversation too. I don't think that they're going to the bowl quite yet, but we saw that success. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are nibbling close. I mean, I don't know. I don't think at this current moment I can bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think because the 49ers roster is so talented, I see at least an NFC championship game. Do they go back to back? I don't know, but I think it's a mix up between the Eagles can get their shit together, 49ers can get their shit together. It's got to be one of those two teams. I mean, both of those rosters are just amazing.
Sure.
I was
Couldn't
about to
agree more.
say if you were gonna say that the Buccaneers were going to the Super Bowl.
No.
I was like,
I-
I know the NFC's wide open, but buddy, you just picked an NFC South team to win.
I'm
go
a
to the
big
Super Bowl.
I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. I think he had a really great year. I can see him stirring some more up if he signs back in Tampa and they get some more weapons down there. But they're not going to make the Super Bowl, I don't
Yeah,
think.
Don't,
But
don't get me wrong. I love Baker, and I think the Bucks are a great team. But I was very shocked when I thought you were going to say that, buddy.
I
Alright.
think hot prediction of the week. Carolina trades 9 first-round draft picks for Patrick Mahomes. He carries them to the Super Bowl. Carolina gets their first Super Bowl. End of discussion right there. Bryce Young turns into a running back. CMC goes back. I think right there.
CMC, yeah.
Right there.
CMC homecoming.
On that note, we got 3 picks in for 2025. Chris, who's your 2025 Super Bowl pick?
I agree. You can't bet against Mahomes, which I hate to say because I do not like the Chiefs. But I said the Chiefs are making it, and this is the Super Bowl I wanted. Was the Lions and Chiefs? I think the Lions can pull it off. I
Join
love how
me,
aggressive
Join
Dan
me.
Campbell is.
I think
mean,
that
I
Lions
agree.
team defense or that Lions team is going to be fun to watch next year, especially because they have like a chip on their shoulder now.
Yeah. Well, and I think he's right. I think the team closest to having their breakthrough to be able to really compete at that next level that it takes to be at the Super Bowl is the Lions. I mean, like we already discussed, they just need that secondary. They need that one little extra bump in their team in the
Well,
locker room.
they just need a little
wherever it is
push.
to get there exactly. And obviously, the city of Detroit was behind them. I mean, everybody was.
I think
hoping
yeah.
they
America
did
was
it,
behind
so-
them.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
definitely.
I wanted him.
Dude, okay, listen. This
You
is
have
also a
chocolate.
hot take. Obviously, the Cowboys, I mean, America's team. The Cowboys also have an insane roster. They need to figure it the fuck out too. But there are so many good teams that I think have the possibility. I don't think anybody's stopping Patrick Mahomes. That's what I'm getting at. Don't matter. You could throw out the Avengers out there. Patrick Mahomes still coming out on top. The only
Couldn't agree
person that's
more.
stopping Patrick Mahomes Tom Brady coming out of retirement.
All right, he's broadcasting that Super Bowl game. Don't even worry about it. All right, last.
It's gonna be Tom Brady and Nick Saban in the
He's
booth.
coming down from the booth, suited up, warming up on the sideline. They're gonna be like, "Is that Tom Brady? Play his music."
Yeah, the Carolina Panthers are making the call. Tom Brady, new quarterback. Nick Saban, head coach. They're knocking off Patrick Mahomes. That is what is needed.
Just
Bill
all
Belichick,
one-year
defensive
deals,
coordinator.
all
Yep.
one-year deals.
Yep.
All right,
You're talking
last
every free
bit.
agent. Stephon Diggs, Mike. They're all
Last
going to Carolina. Carolina 2025 Super Bowl champs. Book it now.
This guy.
All right, last bit.
Turn off his mic.
Everybody really, well, a majority of people watch it for this. Commercials. We got favorites.
Dude, there hasn't been a large plethora of good commercials in
For a long
5+ years.
For a long time.
I think that Paramount Plus commercial takes the cake. Absolutely
With Tua.
hilarious, bro.
That was pretty good.
Absolutely hilarious commercial. But I mean, there's like
Oh, no.
3 memorable commercials I saw yesterday. That was it.
Okay, hold on. I don't know if this was a regional thing because obviously I'm in a different area than you guys.
The
but
Kanye. Is that what you're
no,
bringing
there
up?
was one. There was one about Jesus.
There was a lot about Jesus I
There's
saw
a lot.
yesterday.
Washing
There
the
was
feet one?
Yes. It
Yeah.
was the tagline was Jesus didn't preach hate, he washed feet. And I'm at work and I'm just kind of like looking every once in a while and I just saw this and I'm like, okay. And then the
that's-
tagline came up as he washed feet. And I said, what is this commercial for?
That
Like,
stirred
is
up
this
a
Feet
lot.
Finder? Is this
Yeah.
a Feet Finder
That
commercial?
stirred
Like,
up a
what is this?
lot of
Feet Finder commercials. Wild.
what's the
Like-
word I'm looking for? A lot of
Controversy.
Controversial?
yeah. A lot of Christians did not enjoy seeing that commercial, which I'm not gonna get into it, but I did. There were a lot, dude. You want to talk about Jesus commercials? How about Temu? What
Oh
do they
my-
have? Like 8
I saw
commercials?
something- I saw something today that said when the CEO comes back in the office and he's looking like this because he accidentally swiped his card to send 80 million out there to get 8 Super
Bro,
Bowls
I
instead
saw-
of just $8 million.
I saw
Wait,
somebody
what was
tweet
it?
Temu.
No, I
Temu,
didn't
it-
see it. I didn't see the
Oh,
commercial.
it's
I
just-
was working.
It was just the same like 2 Temu commercials, but they aired it like 8 to 10 different times.
Bro,
Oh,
I
no,
swear I
dude.
saw somebody tweet out and say, Temu is paying for these Super Bowl ads with y'all's credit card information after they scammed me.
Man, oh my God.
Yeah. It's funny. I gotta say my favorite, without a doubt, was the Dunkin' Donuts commercial with Matt Damon and Tom Brady. That I thought it was hilarious. I think it was just like
That one was funny.
You could stay, Tom.
a best bit of
You
like
could say, Tom.
awkward, but like all legends in their field, just having a good time. So
I also
Rub-
liked the
rub-
DraftKings commercial that they were like, everybody could play except for you, Tom.
Oh, that
The-
one was good.
They were like, because, and then he said he was Tim Barty, the
Pool
7-time
player?
pool champion or
Right,
something like that.
right.
That was a great commercial.
I think the Clydesdales one was. I mean, it wasn't as the greatest
I don't
commercial
think
they've
it's the
had,
best,
but
yeah,
it's always nice seeing the Clydesdales.
for sure.
When I see those commercials, I am like Kleenex box ready.
Bro,
that's
that
what-
one
that's
a
my
couple years
expectation.
ago. Wait, was it? Was it
Yeah, it
actually
was
the
like-
Clydesdale one that it was like, the puppy?
With the dog and the horse.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's
those are some
Clydesdale,
tearjerkers for sure.
That's Budweiser staple.
Those are some
If
tearjerkers.
I am not bowling my eyes out. It was a bad commercial.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Well, that was episode 3 of the Great Googly Moogly podcast. We appreciate everybody listening and tuning in. If you got 2025 Super Bowl predictions, put them in the comments. Let
Carolina
us know.
Panthers. Woo!
If you like hot takes, go ahead and at him. He will handle
Yeah.
one of them. But if you're smart and you know anything, you already know the AFC team is going to be the Chiefs. We all don't like it, but we all have to admit it. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're doing their thing.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah, maybe Swifties come back 2025. You never know. You never know.
Nobody's
Travis
stopping
Swift's gonna go crazy next year.
Nobody's stopping that fucking Muppet.
Oh, right.